then you're my enemy!
Zoids Battle Legends. It's a game based on the Zoids model kit series that's rather well known. Well, in Japan anyway. Case in point, in Japan they had video games dating as far back as the Famicom and as early as the Xbox 360. We got 3 games. But of the 3 games, this is by far the best. Now the story itself places you as a rookie pilot for either the Republic or the Empire. As your names would indicate, you're kind of enemies, but there's actually a third faction that the two of you are both fighting. There's also a subplot featuring dataless Zoids, which, near as I can tell, are Zoids that have time traveled somehow. Like, seriously, it gets brought up in the plot 2 or 3 times and then just dropped. For no real reason. But enough about that, because the real star of the story is the translation work, because it is comically heinous how bad the translation work in this game is. Case in point, we'll take Lena Toros. That was her English name. She had a completely different name in Japanese. She has a completely different name in this game, at least as it's written, and the voice actress calls her a different name as well. So this character now has 4 different names. Well done. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's tons of just random swapping between English and Japanese names, as well as mishmash translations that don't really work. It really feels like the translation work was completely half-assed. But that's the thing, if you want to impress me, you either have to have a solid story or impressive gameplay. And the gameplay in this one, pretty solid. Essentially, in story mode, you take your rookie through various missions. At the end of each mission, you will get new weapons or a new Zoid, which is then a good indication that you will need it for the next mission. And so on and so forth. However, I think the real star of gameplay was the arcade mode, which allows you to make a team of up to 2 characters from anyone from this story or any of the famous Zoid series that existed up to this point anyway, which was like 2, but anyway. Then you get to outfit your characters with whatever Zoid you want, as well as the various loadouts for your Zoid, and then you go out into a tournament ladder of fights. However, I have to immediately stop the game there because there's a massive difficulty spike at level 1. Okay, don't get me wrong, the Zoids you start out with are pretty garbage, except for the Command Wolf. I will forever stand by that as one of the best Zoids ever. But the thing is, even at level 1, your opponents are using heavily customized special units. But that's one of the draws of this mode, is when you beat a tournament ladder, you basically unlock all the custom units for purchase. So you finish the New Century Zero tournament, then you get all the different versions of the Liger Zero. The point is, however, this means that you're using very, very base units against highly customized units. And this means you're going to get smashed in the face pretty much instantaneously, which is why I'm going to immediately give you a pro tip and say when you start, sell everything to your name and buy a Blade Liger. Because a Blade Liger is OP. How OP is it? Well, all the footage of a Blade Liger you're about to see is not footage of me playing, someone who's had this game for many years, but of my kid brother who's never touched this game in his life, to help prove just how easy it is to win with this thing. Because he went through the entire tournament mode without ever losing half his health. I have no idea why they give you such a broken option right out of the gate, but at the same time, it seems like the only way to adequately counter just how stacked the deck is against you. However, when you actually manage to beat a few rounds and purchase another Zoid and then heavily customize it yourself, you can actually fight on fairly even ground. Of course, at that point you still have the Blade Liger and everything is pretty much dead instantly anyway. But that said, beating the tournaments, gaining new Zoids to purchase, purchasing them and heavily customizing them, being able to try out different combos of your favorite Zoids is really the thing that puts this game over the top. Despite the fact that pretty much every other thing about this game is a complete and total mess. Case in point, the presentation. Visually, it's not that great. I mean, yeah, everything looks kind of boxy and stuff, but really, it's just bland. You've got tons of desert, you've got 1 or 2 bases, and even a big city, which is probably the best level in the game. But for the most part, it's just dull, drab, brown, and gray, with the exceptions of your Zoids, unless you paint them gray, in which case, I don't really want to talk to you. There is something special about the visual department I would like to talk about, though. If you notice in the top left corner, there's this weird collection of hexagons next to your nameplate. These are actual hard points on your Zoid. As each area takes a certain amount of damage, they will eventually start sagging and limping as if they were damaged. While this doesn't actually appear to have any sort of physical effect, it is a neat little visual touch, although it's only really noticeable on the very large machines. And the audio design is almost as bafflingly bad as the translation. I will give you a taste of just how bad the voice acting is with a few of the best clips there are.
Great, that Zoid's cute. Come on anytime, kid.
Are you trying to use me? I am outstanding.
And let's not forget my personal favorite.
Look what I can do with Zoids.
I mean, if nothing else, at least the voice acting matches the translation in that it's comically bad. Like, seriously, it feels like none of the people in this game are voice acted by actual voice actors. And I don't mean that in the sense that it's so bad it's good. No, I mean, it was trying to take the off-ramp to so bad it was good, but it missed it by about 3 miles, ended up turning around, and ended up in what is essentially a giant pit of stench and awful. That said, as much as you might want to rip your ears off for the voice acting, the actual music in this game is pretty decent. While none of the music actually sounds like it's from the actual series, it sounds like it's a decent surrogate. Like, you know, you could put some of the music in this and put it in the cartoons and it would work. So, overall, I would still say that the audio is kind of on the negative side, but the music itself kind of redeems it a little bit. And overall, that's pretty much Zoids. It's a giant, massive train wreck. And yet the gameplay is still compellingly fun. Trying out all the different combinations, finding different ways to kit out your favorite Zoid, it's just a blast. Despite the fact that pretty much everything else about this game is just a massive pit of sadness. And I think it's the quality control of this game that really speaks to why we didn't get any more. Because yeah, Zoids weren't exactly the most popular thing in North America. I mean, we only got 3 games, and this was by far the best. But really, if they had actually just rolled up their sleeves, took their time, went out and maybe hired some professional voice actors, and really worked on the translation, you would have an incredibly solid game. As much as I would love to call this game a gem on the GameCube, I'm not sure I can give it that status, but it's a game I really enjoy quite a lot. It is a shame we never got a sequel, especially considering that one does exist in Japan, as well as a bunch of other Zoid games I would kill to have my hands on. But we got Zoids Battle Legends on the GameCube, and if nothing else, it was a hell of a lot better than the one on the 360.